executive director for Associated Risk Managers. I thought I would become a professional soccer player. And when it became obvious that I wasn't going to be a top-class soccer player, I thought I'd be a rock musician instead. And I discovered that there was lots of jobs in insurance that paid a lot of money. Insurance is everywhere in the world. So a couple of months ago, my day started with how do I help somebody insure a $100,000 dog? Insurance is connected to everything of value. If it was a $100 million loss and they collected $10 million, they lost $90 million. In insurance, one of the biggest qualities is empathy. Would you need a college degree to go into insurance sales? No. My name is Terry Quested, and I'm the Executive Director for Associated Risk Managers in Ohio and Kentucky. Associated Risk Managers is an insurance agency owned by other insurance agencies, and its purpose existing is to provide those other agencies preferred access to insurance products and services. I've been with Associated Risk Managers for 10 years. I've been in the insurance business since 1974. I thought I would become a professional soccer player. And when it became obvious that I wasn't going to be a top-class soccer player, I thought I'd be a rock musician instead. And it turned out that I was even worse at music than I was at soccer. So I had to keep my day job. I started in the insurance business straight out of high school, a Lloyd's of London insurance broker. And in the first 2 years of my profession, as a late teenager, I spent my time learning the basics of insurance. Whilst I was doing that, I discovered that there was lots of jobs in insurance that paid a lot of money, and I was very interested in pursuing those. However, they required qualifications and skill sets that I didn't have. But I was undeterred. I was determined to find my way into the more profitable ends of the insurance business. And I noticed that all the jobs for this were paying very high salaries. So as a young man, I spent a lot of time looking to see if I could get a job in a business that specialized in reinsurance. And I was fortunate. I managed to get the lowest job in a reinsurance broker that provided reinsurance. And after a few years there, I was able to convince my employers that I was a good candidate to take an overseas job for them. And I went to work for them for one of their customers in Peru. Insurance is everywhere in the world, and reinsurance is everywhere in the world. And it was quite an interesting experience for me. First off, living and working in a foreign country. Secondly, the company that I was working for was being run by an individual who was running for president of the country. So I had quite interesting access to not just how insurance worked in a foreign country, and frankly, I knew more about insurance and reinsurance than they did. One of the reasons that a foreign company wanted someone with my expertise from London. The experiences that I gained from working there allowed me to apply for jobs in other countries, and I was offered a position in Mexico. And in my mid-20s, I relocated to Mexico. It was only ever going to be for 6 months. I was there for nearly a year. At the early part of my career, I moved to Bermuda, and in the 3 years that I worked there, I gained a lot of valuable experience. The reinsurance business exploded in the early 80s, 1980s, with capital all across the world looking to say, how do we make money in the insurance business? And reinsurance seemed an easy way to do it. This led to an insurance catastrophe, in as much that there was too many people insuring things for too little money. And eventually the numbers didn't add up. And there was a significant shift in the insurance market by the mid-late 80s. And that coincided with the time that I moved to the United States of America, where I took my reinsurance skills and looked for jobs here in the United States. And interestingly, I found a job whilst I was looking in Florida in New York. So I ended up moving to New York. Educating the insurance agents in our network who sell insurance about types of insurance they may not know a lot about. We've recently connected everything of value to the internet. Well, the insurances that we had in the past didn't deal with that. We never asked any questions, but now we put everything on the internet. And if you think about how we've changed risk, all the money in the world used to be in banks. Well, now all the money in the world is behind a password. So the risk of losing it is different than when it was in a bank. So much of my time is spent teaching agents about new types of insurances, cyber insurance. A lot of my time is also spent talking to businesses, insurance companies, about the changes they are seeing in risk and how risk is sold and marketed to consumers.
How are these job duties different from your job duties 30 years ago?
So when I was a reinsurance broker, I was transacting, we have contracts of insurance or reinsurance, and you have to find lots of other insurance companies who want to take a piece of it. So my role was actually promoting or selling one insurance company, what it does, and finding other insurance companies to support it. And the company that I work for would be paid a commission for performing that. Nowadays, I'm involved with insurance. So in people who sell insurance, insurance agents, they sell your homeowners, the business insurances, but there's such a wide variety of insurances that no insurance salesperson can really be an expert in all of them. And the company that I run now, it's our job to bring those types of resources to them. Well, like everybody else, I get up and stare at my email, and I look at the things that are important. So the people who reached out to me who need a question. The most fun part of my job is helping people write insurance. And one example is a couple of months ago, somebody said, look, I need to insure someone's dog. And I said, why? And they said, well, they paid $100,000 for this dog. I said, well, who owns it? It's owned by Patty Hearst, the famous Patty Hearst. Anyway, the average insurance company doesn't insure dogs for $100,000. But I was able to explain to the insurance agent, oh yes, coverage is readily available. Why did I know this? Well, I used to insure zoo animals. So I knew that insuring exotic or high-valued animals was an area where there's expertise. So a couple of months ago, my day started with how do I help somebody insure a $100,000 dog? I'm very fortunate in my job in as much as I have a lot of flexibility. So on any given day, I may have appointments and things to do, but I set my own agenda. But I don't have a typical job in insurance. Let's say you're an insurance salesperson. Your whole purpose is to build a supply of customers and constantly build a supply of customers. So I'm very fortunate that I don't have to go through that. The most fun is insuring businesses, professions. So whether it's doctors and surgeons who have requirements for their professional liability, or accountants who have professional exposures, or it's engineers who are creating things, or it's companies that build things. The most heartwarming thing that you ever run across in insurance is when you realize that you've helped somebody. So when someone's house was burnt down, or something like that. And I'll give you a classic example. We work with insurance agencies in my network all across America, and about 6 or 7 years ago in Oklahoma, we had a terrible tornado, and it took out town of Joplin, and hundreds, if not thousands, of houses were destroyed. And one of the insurance agencies in my group was there, and 3 of their own employees, their houses were blown away. These employees showed up for work every single day. In fact, the insurance agency was blown away. They had to work out of a caravan. And the people in my network got together and we collected money and we sent it to them. And I have to tell you, it's one of the most heartwarming things and the most grateful things, because first off, those people didn't expect to get the help. They understood how the people in their own profession appreciated their dedication to it. And to me, it's a real example of the type of people that come into our business and the types of things that we do for people in the business. Now, they had their own insurance, but when you've got 3 children and you're living in a hotel, it would be really nice if you could live in a nicer hotel and someone paid for the babysitting. So those were the types of things that we do. And I think because in insurance, we're so close to people who have terrible things happen to them. So whether it's getting hurt in an automobile accident, having something stolen, being involved in a workplace incident, these are the worst points in people's lives. And yet insurance doesn't solve these problems. And just getting money doesn't always solve the problem. But in retrospect, the money is always the thing that that helped you out. There's a phrase that one of my colleagues uses. We don't really sell policy. What we do is we sell the comfort after something has gone wrong. For me, it's the personal interaction with people. I'm quite an outgoing person, but I often have to talk to large groups of people, and I'm just not very good at it. I recognize that I have a lot of knowledge. So for me, one of the biggest struggles is talking to large groups of people.
In the first 10 years when you didn't have to do public speaking, what was the hardest aspect for you then?
I was completely intimidated by the sophistication of the business. It was involving large sums of money with people who had lots of experience and lots of education, and I felt that I wasn't qualified. Now, I was learning all along, and one of my bosses said to me when I went abroad, "You're going to discover you know more than you think you do." And I knew he was so wrong, because I really didn't know much. But it turned out after about a year, I worked out, he was right. I know more than some of these people. In fact, I went to a foreign country and I found myself helping an entire country manage this thing. And I came from an environment where I felt like the lowest guy on the totem pole. It's never been seen as an exciting profession. I'd like to beg to differ. First off, insurance is connected to everything of value. If it has a value, we insure it. Why? Because it's valuable and something may happen to it. It's where the money is. Insurance business is often referred to as the science of large numbers. I personally was terrible at numbers. However, what I've discovered about the insurance industry is you don't need algebra. I mean, all the money in the world you can add up with all the mathematics you learned by the time you were 11 years old. Financial service industries may look like they're complicated and that you might need to have a lot of skills, math skills, science skills. In reality, the basic knowledge that we have is all that you really need to be able to succeed in those areas. Let's say you want to get into insurance sales. It's really important to have a college degree. Would you need a college degree to go into insurance sales? No. A college degree proves that you've acquired a certain level of learning. However, insurance sales requires certain types of personalities. I know a couple of insurance agents who didn't go and finish college, and one of them is unbelievably successful. But he is a very driven individual. But I would say that most people need to have a college degree, and if you're going to be an insurance salesperson, you have to have some type of sales personality, retail personality. So anybody, frankly, who's had retail sales skills, selling furniture to jewelry to working in a bank, all of those skill sets are very transferable to be able to learn insurance. And in fact, in the insurance agency world that I work now, where we spend a lot of time looking to bring in people, we are now targeting people who hold these professions. Well, you might think there would be business-related classes and finance-related classes. However, some of the most successful insurance agents I know, one was a geologist, one of them was a psych major, one of them used to be a vet. So they come from everywhere. You need a certain type of skill set to be an insurance salesperson. There's so many other jobs that the insurance industry doesn't require those skill sets. If you are an underwriter with an insurance company, where you'll sit and assume risks and look at, see, yes, we will write it, and this is how much money we will charge for it, your sales skills and your interpersonal skills aren't as important as they are learning the engineering that might need to go to studying these issues. Well, they want to know, how much money can I make? What will I be doing in 2 years or 3 years? How fast can I advance? I would ask them what they're doing on LinkedIn. If you're going to become a salesperson, how good are you already at networking? So you have all your family and all your friends and everybody you went to school with and everybody you went to church with and everybody your parents know and everybody your cousins know. And that becomes your first part of how you develop a database, a customer base. In insurance, one of the biggest qualities is empathy, because insurance is there to solve problems. There is nearly always a solution. It may not be the solution they want, but if you can understand their problems, you can then present your expertise and show them what the options are. To get a job in the insurance industry, if you have a criminal background, it might be very, very difficult to get a job in the insurance industry. So depending on what your criminal background is, it might preclude you. Work hard, then work harder, and then get up next morning and do it again. There are no shortcuts to hard work. There are no shortcuts to making real relationships. Real relationships are real. The relationship you have with someone over a phone who you call and buy something from, and there's a different person there, it's not a real relationship. People say, oh, I have a relationship with my insurance company because there's always somebody at the 800 line. But a real relationship is with an individual whose name you know and you talk to on several occasions. So having real relationships and being able to maintain them is one of the most crucial things in the insurance business. Well, there was one thing. In the mid-80s, there was a fire in Las Vegas and a big hotel burned down, and it didn't have enough insurance. And I don't remember the numbers, but let's say they needed 100 million, but they only had 10 million. Well, you can't go out and buy insurance after your house is burnt down, right? Because you know you're going to have to pay them. But in that one case, the insurance industry said, well, it's going to be many years before they have to pay out all these claims. So they gave them insurance for something that had already happened. And it went spectacularly wrong. It turned out they had to pay the money out almost immediately, and they lost all their money. If it was a $100 million loss and they collected 10 million, they lost $90 million. They didn't have to lose one nickel of that because they already knew about the loss. Selling insurance. I mean, anybody today can go and apply and get in on the ground level. There is plenty of opportunities. Insurance companies like State Farm and Allstate and Farmers, these insurance companies, the salespeople work for the insurance company, and they do a pretty good job of training people how to get into that business and showing you what owning an insurance agency would look like. But if you wanted to be an independent one, how would you start off? Well, you'd have to have some skill sets. So I think going to some companies like that and learning how that company does it is a good way of getting those basic skills. Because when you want to go out on your own, you're going to need those skills. But if you're particularly good at your business, once you've got those skills, you'll be thirsting to leave them. And in fact, in my own industry, we hire people from those companies all the time because they come to us with some basic insurance knowledge, and they've worked out that if they stay there, they're only going to get this far in their career. But they could perform the same sort of work for themselves over here and make this much money. Well, to my earlier points about how technology is changing everything. So not only is it changing the tools that we use, whether it's our cell phones and our computers and the capabilities, but it's changing for every customer too. So everybody has changed their business. So how we insure it needs to change. And we're still working out how to do that. So I see that as being one of the most exciting things that's going to happen in our industry. Is there technology that's going to make part of the insurance process obsolete? Yes, it's possible that certain things that we're doing now, and certainly personal lines insurances, which are almost like a commodity, are already significantly impacted by technology. However, because every business is unique and because the world is changing so fast, we're going to need more skill sets, we're going to need more knowledge and more solutions for insuring things going forward that don't even exist today. So you're going to need, what skill sets you're going to need to be able to cope with that? Well, a good technology understanding and how to use the technologies that are out there. And then being able to stay on the cutting edge as new technologies come along. Data analytics are going to be way more important than they've ever been at the retail sales end. Right now, most insurance agencies don't have anyone who does this. And if they wanted to do it, they would either do it themselves, or not well because they don't have the skill sets, or they would pay someone else to do it. So I think people who bring us a data analytic capability to the insurance industry, people will be falling over them to give them jobs. And in fact, in my own network, we are doing just that now. Knowledge is power, and in insurance, that is true. And I believe that the businesses that learn to use technology most effectively will be the ones that succeed the most. Sell insurance. So whilst I've been in the insurance business for 45 years and I've helped facilitate sales and been involved in sales of corporate sales, I don't personally own a book of business and sell insurance. And had I started that, let's say when I was 30 years old, and I've been reasonably successful at it, I would have 3 times the salaries that I have today. I would still keep the job I have now, but I would still have all this residual income from all these people that I've been selling insurance to for 30 years. So if I have a regret, it's that I didn't do that. And I might still do it.
What's your favorite food?
Seafood.
What's your favorite thing to do in your free time?
Play soccer.
What's your favorite country to visit?
Bermuda.
What is one thing you cannot live without?
My family.
What's your favorite book?
I like reading books by Winston Churchill, but most of the time I read comedy.
What's your favorite show or movie?
I go to Transformer movies with my son.
What makes you sad?
Illness.
What makes you happy?
The people I meet every day.
Who are you grateful the most?
I'm grateful to my mom, and I'm also grateful to my dad.
What's the best advice you were given?
Get up each day and go to work hard.
What world problem you wish you could solve?
Health and famine.
You should get into my profession if you are.
If you are driven to succeed.
You should not get into my profession if you are.
Dishonest. So when we're starting out in our careers, and as young teenagers and even as younger children, we may have all picked a profession that we're going to go into. And I've never met anybody in the insurance industry who grew up thinking, I want to go into insurance. But everybody that I've met who is in insurance recommends that other people go into insurance because we have comfortable lifestyles. The insurance industry generally does a good job of building a career path for you and showing you what you can achieve. And what you can achieve is really based upon your abilities to perform. And your abilities to perform are only tempered by your capability to perform work efficiently and well. For me, it involves hard work. I work with people who seem to succeed without appearing to work hard. People who take a pride in their jobs nearly always succeed.